Have. We're live. Hello,
Hello.
everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Dishin Days right here on our very own YouTube channel, where we give you a full dish of this week's episodes of NBC's #1 hit soap opera, Days of Our Lives. I'm your host, Tony Moore, and I am joined by my gaggle of gals. We have the lumberjack himself.
In my non-lumberjack uniform, but yes, Michael Mattis, how are you?
And guess who's back in the house?
A loud show, everybody. Turn the volume down a little bit.
I thought I was the lumberjack. I was a little disappointed though that you met Michael.
Well, with the hair that is higher than the highest roller coaster.
It's not as high as it used to be. It's quite a bit lower now.
Age, lady.
I'm getting older. I'm being a little more conservative.
It's Mark J. Freeman, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel right here. You're watching live, so go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Also, click the notifications. That way you know exactly when we're going live or when we have new videos added. We currently have all of our Day of Days, Daytime Emmys, and the first year of Dishin Days all posted just for you. So make sure you go on there, like, comment, and share those interviews. They might be a few years old, but they're still gold. And coming up later on today, we have Paul Telfer and Linsey Godfrey joining us to talk all things Sarah and Xander. And trust me, after Friday's episode, we are all going to need the coldest of coldest showers. All right, so what did we think about this week's episodes of Days?
It was a good week, I thought.
Yeah.
It was an interesting week.
Yeah.
Interesting is the word I use. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Mark J. Freeman.
I did. I enjoyed last week. I should have joined last week because last week was
a good week too.
That was a good week. This was a good week too. I mean, I did tweet a thank you to Cassie DePaiva for finally getting a soaking wet boxer brief Ben Weston on camera, strapped to a table. And if we could make that a regular thing, I could make it a segment. I'm just saying.
You know what I love? So Mark is sometimes like, behind on days. And so
usually.
So, and we're always caught up and he's still in our group chat. And every now and then there's a random message that's like, oh my God, insert Mark rant here. Or like, who's this person?
Or like this past week, like, Vivian's back. It's like, no, girl, that was 3 weeks ago. That didn't happen. That's an exaggeration. But.
Well, and correct me if because I've been watching since Vivian came back because for obvious reasons.
I mean, Louise Sorrell, hello.
The real Vivian is there. And correct me if I'm mistaken, like we saw that scene with her and Yvonne and then we never saw them again, right?
Oh, they hit it. They were like,
you faked your death and got the hell out of there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was just like, I was thinking about it the other day and I was just like, did I miss something? I mean, because we know I miss things, but I just thought, did I miss something or was that it? I guess that was it. Okay.
Nope. Yep. She just peaced out. She rose up from the coffin and was like, we're done here, and left.
Yeah.
I thought this week was pretty good. I'm really interested in the Allie storyline. I just Lindsay Arnold, like, man, she is so good as Allie. Like,
very good.
I feel like I say it every week. Like, I feel like I'm starting to feel how Mark feels when he sees Billy Flynn.
Mm-hmm. I'm having flashbacks of when she is the moment. I mean, I when I jumped because I jumped a month or something to get caught up.
Yeah.
And she was on screen, and I mean, obviously, I figured it out quickly who she was.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like that moment when Billy came on, the moment when Jen Lilly came on.
Mm-hmm.
Like these people, you were just like, shit, they're not going to last long because they're so good.
Yeah. And I mean, Allie is just, She's everything to me. But let's break it all down. It's now time to start
Dishin
Days. Now
we don't have a.
here's the thing. You know, being at home, there's no hourglass. James Lott Jr. isn't here. Ain't got no hourglass. So there's the hourglass.
There it is. There it is.
So let's start with the biggest storyline. One of the biggest: Ben, Ciara, Eve, Vincent, Claire, Hope, Sean, and Chloe. I will say this right off the bat. I saw that a lot of fans had issues with this storyline because of seeing Ben being tortured.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the most pleasant thing to watch, but it definitely strays from the formula, the show formula, I guess I'll say. And it was good to see something new happening, you know, like a different kind of revenge plot other than, you know, what we usually see. But like it wasn't pleasant, but I didn't also, you know, didn't have the feelings that you're speaking of.
Yeah. What did you think, Mark?
I'm just trying to remember torture. All I kept seeing was nakedness. So
all you remember is pleasure.
Pleasure. I was enjoying every minute of it. So I know when you said that, I was like, they didn't like something about it. But I mean, I guess. I mean, you can't please everybody. You know me. Yeah. That's what I say.
This is what I found interesting was when they all went to New York and they called Chloe to get more insight on Eve. One, I have to admit, I was kind of giggling inside because Chloe had this long speech and the camera just kind of kept circling around to everyone and everyone was having to listen intently. And I was just kind of like, at what point did they all just sort of tune out? Like, and they were just kind of like, yeah, oh.
Well, I just liked Chloe's all around attitude about Eve, about how like she just could not deal with Eve and her negativity anymore. So she was just like, bye.
Yeah, but as she was talking, it dawned on me that I feel like Eve might have had like a little mental breakdown.
Oh yeah. I feel like that's obvious that she did. Something twitched in her brain, and it was, I think they kind of explained it around the time Eve was off camera when the execution got interrupted and he didn't end up getting executed.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what they're explaining is what like triggered this psychotic behavior.
And that kind of feeling of like, you have to think about it. She lost Paige, and then she came back with Jack and tried to do that and, you know, be with Jack and was married and everything like that. Ended up losing that as well. So she kind of just lost everything.
One thing I forgot was that she was also in jail for pushing Jennifer the balcony when she didn't do it. When it was.
And she was in jail for a year. So like, imagine at some point, like being at your small apartment in New York and like, you know, that was a trigger that like, she's lonely. She has no family because Teresa's in California. Her daughter is dead. The guy that she longed for got his memory back and went back to the love of his life. Like she has nothing and no one. So I feel like we're seeing the unravel and the wrath of Eve and being like, you're the person and you're not getting justice. I'm the one that's continuously being tortured. And now it's time for me to torture you. I love that. I feel like I just justified everything that Eve did just in that one statement.
I mean, I'm not saying that torturing someone is justifiable, but you heard the reason we know the reason she's doing it. We're not saying it's right, but we know why.
Yeah. And those scenes with her and with Cassie and Rob were so good. Oh, like they were so intense.
My favorite scene of the week, and it wasn't because Ben was getting tortured. So Sin fans out there, don't get it twisted. But one of my favorite scenes was the scene where she was playing Paige's music. And she had that long monologue. And even Rob Wilson, even though he was just kind of having to sit and react to it, the way he was reacting to it was really well done. Mm-hmm. And it was just one of those scenes that it kind of, you know, had unique music we're not listening to. It had that really monologue that had a lot of depth to it. And Cassie just, you know, knocked it out of the park probably one time. And that was just like the most really engaging.
Yeah. Mark, what are your thoughts? I've never known you to be so quiet.
She's maturing.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, I hate to break this to everybody, but this is television and it's not real. So he didn't actually get tortured.
Well, that's number one.
That's that. Sorry. I don't know. Like, it's like, I mean, Marlena was possessed by the devil. I mean, how are you? I mean, you're allowed to, I mean, I'm not saying you're not allowed to get upset. If something like that bothers you, then obviously turn it off. Like, that's what the world's about, you know? Turn it off, don't watch it, fast forward. I fast forward through almost everything Christian Alfonso says. So, you know, just do it. And somebody in the chat room said to not lump all the sinners together, that not all the sinners hated it. Some of them liked it too. So, you know, we're trying not to categorize or anything like that. But, I mean, it is what it is. I thought from an acting perspective, I thought they were both fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Louis in the chat.
Thank you again for the boxers.
Louis in the chat room says, Michael, you are so right. It was outstanding. John says, Cassie was amazing. Not sure why Eve needed to be in a red sequin gown. Not so practical for kidnapping. I know, right?
I almost wore one today.
Totally appropriate.
Yeah. And then let's see. And then Amy said, I'm a hardcore Sin fan. I'm nice to everyone because life's too short. All right, Amy.
Or short. Short.
And Annette said, loved Cassie's black pantsuit. I did too.
Yeah.
What she changed into was really good. I had a giggle, and I sent you guys my giggle because when we were watching Vincent in Eve's like partner in crime, and they were helping Ben get up.
Yeah.
And there was like a touch, and then there was like this like lingering touch that happened afterwards, and I was like, boo, I would have did the same thing. I would have said, let me help you up, but let me just
grace the
and I'm not saying that was his intent. I'm just saying that's what I saw, and it made me giggle, and I would have done the same thing. I'm just saying.
What made me giggle was on Instagram, because Rob posted a few things this week, and Stephen Nichols posted a reply to one, and it said, Rob, it looked like they had you basted up like a Christmas ham. That really made me giggle.
This whole storyline really does have me worried though, because like she was really doing her best to brainwash him to be the necktie killer again. And even with like all the tactics that she was using, like when she brought in the mannequin with the video screen on there in the wedding dress that she had on, I was like, wow, Eve. And then like the videos of like, you know, Ciara being like, hi. Oh.
I love you, Ben.
Oh. And then like, I was like, what? Like, we are really like going full on and throttle. And then I liked, it's weird that I say I liked, but it was interesting to see the photos of Serena and Paige, their murders. But then when I snapped back into reality, I was like, do they get paid for that?
Yeah, I always wonder when they use like a picture or flashback is like, do Melissa Archer and True get like, you know, do they get a residual for that? Do they get one of those like little checks for a couple bucks, or
I mean,
or is that in their contract that they can use their likeness like throughout the remainder?
Probably. They probably are allowed to use it.
I was talking to James, and James was like, it could be something where they don't get like this full payment, but maybe like a small stipend for having to use the photo again. So Maybe. I mean, I thought that and I was like, oh, but then I like that they cut to Eve when Paige was up there so that we can, of course, see the pain that she was going through. But did you guys notice this? When Vincent saw Hope, there was this look that he gave that made it seem like he was familiar with Hope, but didn't know who he was talking to. Because she said Vincent, and then he was like, who am I speaking to? And I was like, oh, does he have something to do with like her transformation from Hope to Princess Gina? Because
they did give a little nugget that he's Rolf's protege.
Yeah.
Like, protege of Dr. Rolf, so.
And just that little glimmer of, like, it wasn't like what you doing here? It was like oh girl, I know you, but which one are you?
Or maybe it was just that familiarity came from being Dr. Rolf's protege and knowing what Rolf had done.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that they had a connection before, but that he just knew what Rolf had done to Hope.
Oh, I think Mark may agree with this scenario that was just said in the chat. John said, Eve should have said, if I can't have my daughter, Ciara can't have her mother. Perfect necktie exit for that fancy face.
I think I think for Mark J. Freeman, any fancy face exit is a perfect exit.
Any exit. I'm having a party that day, so your guys are all invited.
It's so wrong.
But I think overall this is and eventually Ciara found Ben. Ben has no memory of the torture that he went through. So
Vincent could have copped a feel. He wouldn't have remembered.
Are you saying, is that what you would have done, Mark?
I'm just saying.
Would you have lifted the boxer briefs?
I would have peeked. I would have peeked.
I said that and then I realized my mom now watches this show. I feel like I have to be a little more careful.
Doesn't she text you?
She does. She does.
She usually.
I feel like at any second I might get a text. So yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much what happened with that storyline, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad they didn't prolong it. Like it was 2 episodes, and then they found him, and now he's going back to Salem, I guess.
But the other thing is, like, what moving company did they have to move out like the chair and like the projector and, the mannequin? Because by the time they found Ben, he was in an abandoned warehouse in his drawers.
They had 2 men in a truck. I don't know. College hunks hauling junk. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Mathis Brothers.
You said Mathis Brothers?
You asked, I answered.
Rent-A-Center.
All right, so let's just move it right along to Allie's baby boy, Sami, Will, Sonny, Nicole, Eric, Rafe, and Lucas. Can I start off by saying that this whole secret that Will kept as far as Sami going to Rafe is not that big of a deal.
It's not. It's really not. And it's an overblown reaction on everyone that's reacting badly. It's an overreaction.
Agreed.
Like
Agreed.
The things that, of course, it is like the things that Sami could have done and what she actually did compared to what she actually did do. It's like, maybe just be mad for a minute and then get over it.
Right.
But Allie's reaction, and then she found out that Will knew, and then she's like, I hate you, I don't want you to have my baby. And then Sonny's reaction, I was just like, get over it, people.
Yeah. Side note, text from mom that says, that's right, be good.
Mama Moore.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Hi, Mama Moore.
Yeah, I felt the same way as far as all of their reactions were totally blown out of proportion. I felt like no one wanted to listen to Will because had they listened to him, he could have said, she had already done that. Like, and she came to me and just told me to be quiet. But but then at the end of the day, Rafe still didn't want the baby.
Yeah.
Because
he had told Al, didn't he? Who did he tell? He had told someone that he was gonna say no anyway.
He told Allie. He was telling Sami what was said, but it flashed back to him actually talking to Allie. And the same with Allie, it would flash back to what Rafe said. But at the end of the day, Rafe felt like it wasn't the right time for him to adopt the baby, especially after everything that happened with David. He did admittedly say he would have said yes. But after thinking about it more, it's still a no. So in actuality, Sami had nothing to do with convincing Rafe to say no. She had nothing to do with it.
What annoyed me was that Sonny's justification for being so angry was that Ari was going to be disappointed. And all I kept thinking was like, no, she's not. She wanted the puppy. She didn't want the brother or sister. So why are you even concerned about what Ari's going to think? She doesn't care about the kid. She wants the puppy. And even Will mentioned that. And that's what I thought. I was like, he's so like worked up about it.
Did you find it interesting that Sonny was more concerned about Ari than Will?
He always is.
Yeah. I find
there's so many times I always have to like remind myself it's actually Will's kid, not Sonny's. Yeah. I mean, I get it. He's co-parenting. Like, I'm not saying it like, but just the way that it's played so many times, it seems as if it's Sonny's biological child and not Will's. And I do the same thing.
Yeah. Because when he mentioned her, I was just like, shouldn't Will feel a little more concerned?
Again, I think Will probably wasn't concerned because he remembered that Ari was more concerned about getting a puppy than another little brother or sister. Plus, Will was probably focused on the fact that he felt guilty for lying and was trying to just calm Sonny down.
Yeah.
Jane Austin in the chat said, yes, Tony, and if Sami had stayed out of it, then Will and Sonny would get the baby because Rafe wasn't going to, what she said? Wasn't going to say yes. But my thing is this, then, I don't understand why Allie was like so full on and throttle about Rafe having the baby. And then when he said no, why? Because of this one thing that she was like, no. And I'm like, but what are you gonna do with this baby that came a month early?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna?
Well, and then she got mad at Lucas because then Lucas came in and talked to her, and then he said something and kind of made it slip that he knew, and so then she threw him out of his room. And I'm like, girl, it's not that big a deal.
It's
I want to be mad at Sami, fine, be mad at Sami, but everybody who knew is now an enemy. Like,
in all honesty, I think that if she really thought about it, like, I can see this. I can see if Rafe said, I would have said yes had your mom not came to me and convinced me otherwise. Then, girl, be mad because that was your first choice. That's who you wanted to raise your baby. He's saying no because, again, your mom intervened. But he's basically said, I thought about it, would have said yes, but the answer is still no, even though your mom came and talked to me about it and other people knew that she did. It really has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with me.
Yeah.
Problem solved. But I guess it wouldn't be Days of Our Lives if there wasn't additional unnecessary drama.
Conflict, yeah.
Exactly.
How do we feel about...
Doesn't make sense.
How do we feel about Nicole right now, as far as like her being kind of like the tea spiller in all of this, telling everyone about what what Sami did with Rafe, and like just being very, very honest and maybe sticking her nose where she shouldn't?
Well, the thing is, I think she is trying to be honest, and she's trying to do the right thing, and I think she's really trying to do right by Allie, because she's the one that Allie came to. Mm-hmm. She's the one that Allie, came to and wanted help. So I think she feels an obligation to Allie but I do think there's part of Nicole that enjoys kind of that it's sticking it to Sami.
Yeah. Mark, do you think she's overstepping her boundaries?
No. I mean, you're never going to get an argument out of me for anything that Nicole does. I'm like, you go, girl. I just like, we were saying this off camera because I messaged you guys when I was watching earlier when this whole Rafe and Will and all this stuff was unfolding. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said something like, I feel like Eric and Nicole are going to end up with the kid. And I don't know why I was getting that vibe. I think it's just because, I don't know, Allie has, I mean, I don't think it's, I think because they are playing it, they did really well setting it up in that Allie was going to Eric and Nicole's and staying with Eric and Nicole, and that Eric and Nicole have been helping her with this and that and took her to this. And you know what I mean? Like, so they set it up well that they were doing all this helpful things and not asking for the baby, not thinking about it. You know, they did a good setup of that aspect of it, which is, I think, why I was getting that vibe. Because I was like, why isn't she asking Eric and Nicole to take the baby if she really wants good parents? And it would stick it to Sami even more. And I think you're right, Michael. I think she's trying to be nice, but there is that little extra, I'd be nice and it hurts Sami.
She's low key enjoying that she gets to Sami, but I do think that she's trying to do the right thing. She doesn't want to keep secrets. Keeping secrets always blows up in her face, like someone in the chat room. And
she says that to Allie too, you know, when she confronts Allie and says, look, I've made the same kind of mistakes that Will made, you know? So, Nicole can do no wrong in my eyes. And if I had a child, I would want Nicole Walker to raise that.
Louis in the chat says, we need feisty Nicole back. Marianne
She's
says,
still there.
Nicole seems like a busybody with an agenda to me. And then off topic, Cherie said, ooh, Michael, who was that little hottie in the back?
I didn't know he was like, I thought maybe he wasn't on camera, but I guess he was. That was my husband. We all said so.
And now everyone is saying that your husband is hot.
Nope.
So there you go.
If you see one behind me, just let me know so I can grab them. Because first of all, nobody else should be here. Second of all, I don't want to miss the opportunity.
You know what? I feel like if someone was there, I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for you to break out into Deborah Cox's "Nobody's Supposed to Be Here." Can you imagine if that happened and you spun around and became Lorraine Love and started performing that?
I should. It's my new Wonder Woman move. I just spin and Lorraine appears. It's like it's a 4-hour spin, but it's still a spin. Yeah.
Amaya says the bottom line, Allie should raise her own kid.
Yeah, or not.
No, see, okay, so Mark thought from the beginning that Nicole and Eric were going to get Allie's kid. I've thought from the beginning that she was going to keep it. But now, with all that's transpired, I'm not so sure of that. I'm more towards Mark now and his thinking of where the baby's going to end up. But
yeah.
We still have the one thing that's kind of not been mentioned, the kind of thing that's been forgotten the past 2 weeks with the birth and everything, is that there's a baby daddy out there. There's a baby, and he hasn't been kind of in this equation yet. So I'm curious to see who the baby daddy is, number one, and number two, what kind of conflict he's going to bring in, because she could adopt the baby out, and then he comes back, wants to adopt the baby.
Yeah.
Or, it'll like there's still so much more that can happen with this that I'm interested in seeing.
Just a note for Lorraine Love, Mark, Simone would like the club mix version, hopefully.
The 12-inch remix.
This is interesting. Novelle Jackson, who is reminding me of a Daquan who is loving Sami, says she has no reason to be mad at Sami. Do you guys agree with that?
I'm sorry, who has the right? to be mad at Sami.
I'm assuming that Allie doesn't have a reason to be mad at Sami.
I think, okay, so Allie, from the moment she's arrived in Salem, she has said her motivation to come to Salem is because Sami will not leave her alone and continues to butt into her life. So I feel like she has a right to be mad, but that Sami did make an effort to try to interfere, even though as low key and is like as little as it was. I think she does have a right to be upset, but to be upset with like Will and Lucas and to be so upset about it, it's an overreaction. Does she have a right to be a little pissed? Yes, but and maybe she can just have like pregnancy hormones. She just had a kid. She's been through a lot. So, I mean, so yes, but it seems like an overreaction.
Yeah. Shout out to James Lott Jr. who just joined us in the chat, and he says having a mom like Sami would be heavy. Oof. Oof. Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's my thought. I feel like this. I feel like before Nicole speaks, I feel like she should talk to Eric first to kind of be like, so I know this, should I tell them or do you want to tell them? Because I kind of feel like even though she has a relationship with Allie, she's had her things with Sami and stuff like that, I still kind of feel like you're kind of a guest in the family. So like, I feel like you should probably check with the hubby before interfering in like family business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see your point.
So just to make sure things don't, because right now her hands are clean because she seems like the honest one, but she's also kind of getting them murky within the family. So she's able to kind of go, here's some tea.
At the same time, Eric doesn't seem to mind that she's involved, her involvement.
True. I guess he would have said something by now.
Yeah.
So, it looks like Daquan has found a fan.
Sorry?
I said, it looks like Daquan has found a friend.
Oh. Yeah. Amaya Baker in the chat room says, Eric is disrespectful to the situation and he can go fall off a cliff. There you go.
Dang. Oh, Jan said, agree, Tony. Nicole should consult with Eric. And everyone is trying to figure out who the baby daddy is. I feel like they should do, I have an idea. What they should do is they should do sort of like an episode of Maury. But instead of calling it Maury, call it Terrence.
Oh.
And I come on and I'm like, we have the results right here. Who's the baby daddy?
Thank you for playing There's the Stage Exit.
A dream deferred. But I feel like that's gonna, I for some reason I giggled to myself a little while ago at the promo of like the reveal of the baby daddy, because I feel like it's gonna be big. Like, yeah, it's gonna be like, who? I feel like they did a promo like that where it was like, who's the daddy?
I feel like they've done several promos over the years about that.
I'm sure there are a million.
Who's
probably.
the daddy?
All right, and that is pretty much with that storyline, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move it right along to Chad, Gabby, Jake, Gwen,
I forgot about this.
Leishan, and Kate. I cannot say this enough. I love Jake. I love that character so much. I love Gwen. At this point, Gwen is just annoyed at the chemistry between, I will admit there's chemistry between Jake and Gabby.
Yes, there is.
But
Gwen is seeing it and she's not happy, and so that's why she's having Jake film a porno in her bedroom.
True.
Stuck in my bed. Snatch that man, girl.
When she said that, I thought that was hilarious. Mark, are you frozen? Oh, there she is. I thought you were frozen for a second.
I know. I was just about to grab it and go, I got kicked out.
But I couldn't tell because I was like, he's probably looking at the chat, but I was like, he's been looking at the chat for a long time. I felt like I had to go, Alma. Check your battery. But it's interesting to see how Gabby is still trying to slither her way into Demera and did this whole thing about playing the assistant, telling Mr. Shin to come over and to the bistro to meet with, an exec, and kind of do all this while Chad is unaware and on his way to Florida. And then Lee Shin, welcome back to Salem, Lee Shin. I hope they keep you for a while. Was just kind of like, no, it's not going to work this time. Yeah. Like, I need the CEO. And for some reason, I was like, she's going to go grab Jake to not play Stefan, but to be Jake, but pretend like
I was confused about what her agenda was, because I thought she was just going to try to hijack the meeting like she did before, because I don't really know what bringing Jake into that situation will help her case, unless it's just the fact that he's Stefan's twin.
I think because Lee Shin kept saying that they need an actual Demera, and
and Jake's an actual Demera.
Yeah, who just so happens to look like Stefan, so it could be played off. And then she still comes across as the hero because she's probably going to be feeding him the information.
Yeah.
So, Mark, how do you feel about Jake and Gwen?
I like Jake. I agree. It's charming, kind of how he's kind of like the rough guy who doesn't really know, is fitting into this new family that he doesn't know anything about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Gwen. I don't know that I'm 100% Gwen. I'm confused. I mean, and maybe it will happen because we don't really know. It hasn't unfolded yet. But isn't she supposed to be spying on Gabby for Chad? So I'm just curious why she hasn't thought to call Chad and say, hey, Gabby's up to something. She's taking Jake to some, like, she's, what I mean?
I think the fact that her man, she fears that she's going to lose her man. And I think that's distracting her from her actual mission, which is to spy. Because, when we first saw her, she was sneaking around Gabby's room. But then Jake came in and that whole situation developed. I think she just got distracted and she's more focused on keeping Jake to herself and getting him back in her bed than she is about spying on Gabby. I think she's kind of forgot. I think that's become a second thought to her. But I am enjoying this. I love the fact that they've gone back to like the situation where like everyone's in the house together. And that's, whenever a new Demera comes, they move into the house and that creates the conflict. But I like Gwen. I think she's just a spitfire, and they're giving her some really good stuff to work with. And I'm enjoying it.
I thought, Mark, you didn't like Gwen because of that scene that they had in Julie's place where she was getting a little too handsy.
With my boy, Chad. Yeah.
I can suddenly picture Lorraine Love coming through and be like, excuse me.
I don't also get I've always had an issue with this. I feel like, I wish I could be a CEO of a company as quickly as somebody in Salem can become a CEO.
Right.
I don't understand. If you're running a business and you're looking at Gabrielle Hernandez to be your CEO, you need mental treatment, because I just don't understand why. It just doesn't make any, that part of it to me has never really made any sense. Why is this even an issue? You're not a Demera. You were married in. Yes, you have Gabby Chic, but that's not what running Demera Enterprises. I don't know. It's so always so weird and far-fetched to me that kind of stuff just frustrates me. and I can't ever usually get past that. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's just common on soaps. It happens on Young and the Restless too. Like, Newman Enterprises and Jabot. Like, the kids on the show move up to like CEO and COO without, they barely even went to college.
Right.
And it's I agree that it's something like you kind of question it, but I've just learned with that kind of stuff is to be like, okay, that's what's happening, even though it doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah.
Side note, Michael Mattis, Candace Max said that you have the Jake look going on today.
That I think I mentioned it earlier that I don't see it. I have been told in the past, in my thinner days, that I looked like Brandon Barash, but I never saw it. I'm a little thicker now, but yeah, I still don't see it.
We all
Thank
are.
you. I'll take it as a compliment. I'll take the compliment.
Yeah.
He's a good-looking dude.
Especially in that towel.
And his underwear. He was in a towel for one scene, and then in his
underwear. And that was pretty much it. We're going to see how how this meeting unfolds. It ended with Jake in Stefan's suit.
When he comes hauling in and his tie is all cattywampus, that made me giggle.
I like the I don't own a suit.
Yeah, it was good.
Gosh, I love Jake. All right, before we move on to some tidbits really quickly and then our segments, and then we're going to welcome our guests, Linsey Godfrey and Paul Telfer. Just want to remind you guys that we are our own entity now, so it is very important that you guys support us in our endeavors. By doing that, you can like and subscribe this video and channel, and also share it to other Dishin Days fans. If you are a part of any blogs or Facebook pages or anything like that, be sure to copy this link, drop it in there, and encourage other fans to like and subscribe our page and join us every Sunday for a full recap and a quick chat about our favorite soap opera, Days of Our Lives. So go ahead, click that subscribe button, Dishin Days, and also like this video while you're enjoying our colorful commentary. So tidbits, speaking of Paul and Linsey, we have Xander and Sarah right now, which I love two things. One, I love the fact that they obviously can't deny their feelings for each other. And two, the schoolgirl giddiness of Xander when it comes to Sarah. Oh, and three, the yeah, bro, you got this moment between Xander and Jack. Yeah.
I thought that was an odd pairing.
Well,
it's interesting.
I had to be, if you remember, Xander wanted to put a full page ad of an apology to Sarah and went to Jack because he's with the Spectrum. That. Yeah, and talked about it. And so I think that's where the connection initially happened. So to see him excited about his date with Sarah, it was only kind of natural for Jack to have that encouragement, because who else would? Don't nobody else in Salem like Xander?
I know.
No, I thought it was a great. I mean, anything Jack's in, I'm gonna love. But and then to put Xander and Jack together, the only thing that could be better is Billy walked in, Chad walked in.
And then of course there's the scene, but I feel like we should talk about that more when Paul and Linsey join us,
and then we can see them actually blush.
Exactly. And then moving on to Lonnie and Eli.
Twins.
Who was expected? I mean,
I thought it was going to be so when they were like, they were kind of hinting that there was something in the promo last week. Like, I was like, oh, maybe it's triplets, because I thought, if that twins is like, again, that's a typical soap opera formula. So I thought maybe triplets would be like a different spin on it, but they went with twins. So I'm just glad that nothing's wrong. I didn't want another Eli Lonnie pregnancy problem.
Yeah.
I want them to be able, they've been through enough. Now that they're married and they're happy, I want them to see this through, and I want to see them, going through like the normal pregnancy woes and whatnot, but no complications, no like scares or anything. Just let them have their babies, let them have their twins, let us see them raising their twins and being happy before we get another complication or conflict.
Agree. I feel like this pregnancy though has us all on edge because every time she gets a twin, she goes to the hospital and we're like, what happened? Are you okay?
And it pays to know someone that works at the hospital, because as soon as they went in there, Sarah was like, oh yeah, just go in the room. I'll be in there in a minute.
Right.
But if one of us went there, we'd have to sit in the lobby, just wait and wait and wait. So it pays to know a Sarah Horton.
They are in and out. So we'll see how that what continues to unfold with that. And then lastly, we have Steve, Caleb, Bonnie, Justin, and Roman. They were. I felt so bad for Roman. I was like, y'all, he ain't got nothing but one scene this week. Like, y'all, let him hang out with y'all.
They were, that was funny because he just kept going and they were just like, okay, yeah, great. Oh, maybe you should go see the baby. What are you waiting for? Go see the baby.
When Steve was like, hey, you got this grandson here. You should go see him. I was like, if that's not a way to say get the hell out, then I don't know what is.
The part of this made me giggle wasn't the Kayla Steve. It was the Justin and Adrian. Like,
you mean
Judy
Justin
and
Bonnie?
As Bonnie, yeah. It just cracks me up. And the way she's like, I even had business cards made up. And he was like, and what sold it for me was his reaction to reading. He was like, Bonnie Lockhart, writer. That's what you put in your business card.
But the fact that she had one
in her
in a boobie, and she said, like not even like the business card holder. Yeah. It was literally one that was stuck, and then she like went out. But you can. It's like he wants to hate Bonnie, but I feel like he's softened up a little bit because she was literally like, I have nothing else. I've said that I'm sorry. Like you're the only lawyer in town. This is the only thing I had. I don't have anything. Like I just need help. And I think he's now intrigued by it.
I think he's too good a person to let that go and to just be like, oh well. Like he picked up the contract. He started to read it. I think he's gonna help Bonnie out. Bonnie Lockhart writer. I think he's gonna help Bonnie Lockhart writer out.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I don't necessarily want them, to get together.
No, I don't want them to get together, but I don't mind them being friends.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Mark?
I'm ready to recast Roman. And I'm done. Like, I don't like, he comes on and I'm like, why is he still there? I just don't get it. Anyway, sorry. And I don't know. Like, I don't get why. I don't know. I'm okay with the Bonnie thing. I'm just not that invested in it. I don't know. I'm just kind of confused why we had to kill Adrian and bring Bonnie back, but whatever. Yeah. It's not my show. So good luck.
We have to remember that sometimes.
I know. I do have to remind myself.
We all have to remember that sometime.
Yeah. All right. And that was, sorry, this is me playing producer now. So we're going to speed right through this because I see that our guests are waiting in the wings. So that was the week of days. It's now time for our favorite part of our show, which are our segments. And we'll start with my segment, which is Tony's official 3 Snaps Award.
Oh, snap. Oh, there it is. Oh, you do have it.
So my 3 snaps goes to all the bodies that were featured this week. We had Rob, Ben Weston, who was tied to a chair in his underwear. We had Jake, who showed us his underwear and what he looks like in a towel. And then, of course, we had the infamous scene between Xander and Sarah, where all the bodies were in place. So to all the bodies that had us feeling all kinds of wonderful this week, you get Tony's official 3 Snaps Award. And now it's time for Caption that.
All right, this caption that moment goes to Justin and Bonnie with Bonnie's business card. And this week's caption goes to Guillermo Hugh, butchering this, Guillermo, let's call him Guillermo. Guillermo on Instagram with his caption, when she says Uno, but you have a +4 or a draw 4. And topical because I just played virtual Uno with my friends the other day.
That's so
hilarious.
So thank you, Guillermo, for your caption.
And that has been Caption That.
Good enough.
And now it's time for Mark's Quote of the Week.
My quote of the week this week goes to Miss Claire Brady, Olivia Rose Keegan, after Hope says that there was no flight record of Eve, and Claire says, she must have used her broomstick.
That was good.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
And I always love when my quote of the week happens on Monday, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I can calm down for the rest of the week.
That was good. And that has been Mark's Quote of the Week. I don't think Me World has an old shiz moment this week. I think I saw a tweet earlier that said that,
I think he said next week. Next
Yes.
week he wasn't, because he didn't like the promo. So
Yeah. And speaking of the promo, let's just show that really quick before we have our guests, Linsey Godfrey and Paul Telfer, come in. So this is what's coming up next week on Days of Our Lives.
They've battled over men before, but never one this young.
My daughter took off from the hospital and she left a note.
What I want is for Nicole to raise my baby.
It's about to get good.
Well, here we go. Allie just split and was like, I want Nicole to raise my baby.
And what did Gwen say? I missed what Gwen said.
Like, it's about to go down.
Oh, okay.
Bam.
I love the little effects of Sammy's, the little fire effects.
Oh, yeah, because
I feel like we don't see them all the time, but I feel like they're there. The little.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Okay, so it is now time to welcome our very special guest today. We have Miss Linsey Godfrey and Mr. Paul Telfer joining us.
He's named Xander. Like, why is he named Xander? That's hysterical.
I love that he did. Oh, wait, did we not? Let me ask them to turn cameras. They might have walked away and been like, oh, I'll be right back. Oh, there he is.
There's Paul.
There's one.
There's Paul.
He's wearing clothes.
That's always a good
And
thing.
Linsey.
Oh, wait. And then
I
Linsey
can hear
is
people. Hello.
connecting. Oh, wait.
Hello.
Hello.
Hold on.
There.
That's
Oh,
me, huh?
that's me.
Yay!
It
And
takes me a minute, but
And Linsey, yay!
I'm still figuring mine out, so it's gonna take
Get
a
a bit more
second.
intimate.
I love that every time we have Paul on, Paul is in his like game room. This time without the lights and everything.
Yeah.
It's like he's just ready. He's like, oh, Zoom, got it. Puts the game controller down, couple
Yeah,
of clicks.
pretty much.
Too
Well,
bright.
It's usually a lot more festive in here, but we've had to do a couple of Carmen's had to and so we didn't think it was super professional to have all the Christmas lights on. She's going to be a lawyer or whatever it is that she's doing in her audition. So it's a bit plainer. It's a bit more, professional. So.
Well, before it had so much character. And of course, hi Linsey, how are you?
Hi.
Yeah, I love our tweets back and forth. It was just kind of like, I'm ready, let's do this. And I was like, oh, wait, this is happening. What's going on? What's happening?
Yeah, I'll volunteer me and Paul for most things.
That was the other funny thing. Linsey was like, I'm in. And then 5 minutes later, so was Paul. And I was like,
Yeah, and I was like, I am? Of course
I love it. All right, so let's talk about Xander and Sarah. What a trip. Now, we're gonna let's go back before we move forward, because Friday's episode had us feeling all kinds of ways. And even my mom, who now watches the show, I was talking to my mom.
I'm already in for this story. I just want you
Yeah.
to know, whatever is the outcome.
You know what? All I said was, she always asks me, she's like, did you watch Days this week? I was like, did you? She was like, mm-hmm.
Yes,
That was all she said. And I was like, you saw it? I can't say anything else.
I don't gotta say anything else.
So like what I first want to ask, because like there has been such a an evolution of both of your characters. I mean, Xander, Paul, when we first were introduced to Xander, he was like hardcore bad boy trying to get into Titan, like the character everybody loved to hate. And then Sarah came on and was just like, we were still trying to figure her out, although we loved Drunk Sarah because Drunk Sarah like took no BS. But now so much has happened. Like, how do you guys feel your characters have evolved since the time you first arrived in Salem?
Paul, you want to answer that because you've been on longer?
Yeah.
See, it doesn't feel that way to me, even though it's
No?
true. Yeah, okay, I was going to go ladies first, but yeah, I mean... It's weird
Paul, I'm
with-
a real gentleman, you know what I mean?
Exactly. She wears the pants in the relationship, I guess.
I am wearing pants!
And I'm wearing a skirt, but... I mean, clearly Xander has changed. In terms of like what they've given him to do, that's changed a lot. I don't know that he's necessarily changed that much. I think he was always pretty juvenile and always pretty adolescent in the way he reacted to things, and that's what would get him into trouble. And he was a lot more psychotic early on, and would go into these fits of rage, and would take it out on whoever was nearby, whether they deserved it or not. But he still reacts that way. It's just not necessarily rage, but he has these extreme reactions and then acts out in these frankly idiotic ways and makes stupid decisions. And then we'll use his villainy to try and get him out of the consequences of those villainous or criminal acts that he just done, the stupid decisions that he made. And I think the biggest thing that I've tried to do, and now it's coming through in the writing as well, and I'm starting to understand that dynamic about how your performance can inform the writing and vice versa on a show like this, is just to try and mature him a little bit. And that just because the character was one way 5-6 years ago now, he doesn't have to be trapped in that cycle of behavior for forever. And it's not a betrayal of the character, and it's not ruining the character to just, have some of the myriad experiences that he's gone through start to accrue and change his behavior. So that's been the big thing, because I'm not a particularly mature person, so I'm trying to find ways to imbue Xander with the maturity that I don't necessarily possess. And I do feel that started to come through a little bit purely through having somebody like Sarah to bounce off and vibe off of, because she will hold him to account and point out when he's being wrong, which other people did before, but he didn't care because he doesn't care about them. Whereas for him to have this very aspirational love interest, he aspires to be the kind of person that his the version of Sarah that he has created in his mind, which isn't necessarily the version of Sarah that actually exists, but the version, his idealized Sarah that he puts on a pedestal is one of the few entities in the world that can hold him to account, because when he's away from her and when she shuns him, it's the only punishment that's really going to work on him. So yeah, in that regard, I think that's the biggest. I think if it wasn't for Sarah, I know it's a cliche and a trope in all storytelling that the good woman can change the bad man and everything, but cliches become cliches because there's evidence of them in real life. And I think a lot of men, if they didn't have the grounding force of a civilized woman in their life, would act even worse than they already do, and we're all pretty terrible as it is. So yeah, I think it's
oh my God, I
a
love
perfectly
it.
viable thing. But yeah. So what about you, Lynn?
I don't know. Sarah's always kind of bonkers.
We love her for it.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
Love her.
Yeah, I mean, I like the direction that Sarah took. Like, I loved that they let me come in and just kind of be like, no, because that's who I am as a person.
Yeah.
I have been described as shockingly honest.
You shockingly honest? No, don't see that at all.
And I'm very clear about if I don't like something, like, oh God, Paul's gonna be mad I said this. There was a time where I was feeling really sad and I was getting frustrated, and Paul was like trying to comfort me, and he goes, "It's okay," and I was like, "Boo," and he goes, "It's okay, just relax," and I was like, "Boo," and don't tell me to do that. Boo. I was like, "I'm sorry."
Okay.
So I liked, because Sarah was kind of that way, and I liked being that way, and I liked over time that she's really gotten that way. But it was interesting because with the character, when she was with Eric, he very much ran the relationship and very much kind of ran the show, and she was just kind of like, okay. And it's the complete opposite. Like, she's very like, you know, very much in charge of Xander, and she's very much like, no. And you know, like, come on, don't be an idiot. And I love their dynamic. And I think it's totally different because Sarah is so aggressive and so bossy. Mm-hmm. She's so bossy with Xander. And, you know, she'll be a puddle with her mom. And so I like all those things. I like when they let me slip a little bit of comedy in.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I like when anybody lets me do that. Because Sarah would be real weird if they let me run with it.
But I feel like we like that. We like this like quirkiness that is brought to Sarah because it almost makes her even more relatable, if that makes sense. Like, we all know this girl. We all know this girl who is like, she's bossy, she's straight to the point, she's independent, she knows who she is, but like, get a few drinks in her. She's also a spazzy Muppet. Yeah, like, you know, we also know she's a little crazy, but it's not like the bad crazy, but like, we appreciate that crazy. We know what we're getting ourselves into.
Yeah, and then slowly going in that direction, they kind of have given me a little more like, okay, let's just kind of let her be a little wackier. And I like that because it's different. And we always joke that like in the like young couples, like Sin, like Ben and Ciara, like sex on, you know, and Lonnie and Eli are also very sexy, but like it's this deep love and this like deep connection with each other. And then we always joke like we're the diet version that's just kind of like bubbly idiots that like there's this very sweetness about these two people who do have this great chemistry and this like, you know, but and also they're like, well, I'm sorry, are you okay? And I kind of love that.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense, but we just can't stop ourselves. Yeah, it's great.
I mean, I feel like
I think that's Paul and I's friendship that comes through with that, because Paul and I are kind of bumbly idiots together as buddies. And so it just kind of comes through because that's our default.
Do you guys feel like, so one thing I've kind of noticed is that Xander and Sarah kind of have a similar relationship. They're similar people to Victor and Maggie.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's been kind of written intentionally, or do you feel like that's just kind of happened organically? It's like they're just.
I have no idea. I mean, I know Suzanne and I are quite similar, and I know that I mean, Suzanne's just so much classier and more elegant than I am. So I don't know if they're doing it intentional or not. I love that it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it seemed like a happy accident. I feel like, you know, they noticed chemistry when we had our little scenes together, and they had that fun thing when I was doing all my shenanigans with Leo, and then instead ended up falling into bed with the drunken Sarah, and they just took it and ran with it.
Who hasn't? Am I right?
Right? But I was really grateful for it because to me, it really helped because, you know, I wasn't. It's not that I didn't like the storylines, but I wasn't at all expecting my first real like contract storyline to be about kidnapped babies and cancer babies and bone marrow and just, you know, just what it was. And what helped me with a lot of it was, you know, obviously understanding that there was this long transition they were trying to do with my character to kind of like very carefully take some of the edges off without completely ruining him. like in the sense that ruining what people already liked about him as a visiting villain, you know, that could come in and out of the show, but to make him a bit more viable long term. So I was very like humbled before it and just kind of, I assume these people know what they're doing, so I'll just try my best with it. But the thing that really made it work for me, at least, is if you look at the idea that Xander was maybe seeing all this as a little bit of a project for himself. You know what I mean? Like these
so much better.
Careful now. Your whole house just flipped. There's an earthquake in the valley. It was just a lot easier for me to get my head around some of the decisions because Xander has that model right there in front of him of Victor and Maggie. And Xander knows better than anybody else in town that Victor is a filthy gangster. But he just does a very good job of keeping this veneer of respectability. Whereas Xander's the opposite. Xander's never been anything but a thug and a gangster. And he's just craving that legitimacy. And he sees all of that in Sarah. You know, Sarah is like this, you know, whether or not you believe in his ability to really love somebody, his version of love could just be that here's a target of a woman that represents to me everything that I need to become this thing that I'm trying to make everybody see me as. And so even if it was just that at first, and then it transitioned into like true love after he is forced to sacrifice and to make concessions and to change for somebody else, you know. So as it went along, I started to really feel like, okay, well, whether this was intentional or not, it does actually make sense. It makes sense that he would want to emulate what his uncle has, right down to like the genealogy. You know, she is a Horton, you know, just like you know Maggie. And there was a line. Well, okay, sorry, but you know, okay. It's just, I mean, just be glad we're not blood related, okay?
We're only step related, and that's fine.
It's like, imagine the Tinder app or whatever in Salem, it'd be like cousin, nephew, aunt, sister. Like
what?
I feel like that's how it definitely would look. That's probably why you're not on the apps. Why be on the apps when you can just see each other in Horton Town Square and go, well, haven't had you yet, so
or in a wing of the mansion.
House, you could just go upstairs and say, hey.
Yeah, or in a wing of the mansion you haven't been in for a while. So, oh, who's this? I've been over here in a while.
Wing. There's a fucking north wing up that way. Did you know that?
And there's like, hello, who's there?
That leads directly to the Demiras. Did you know that?
You mean we have a tunnel that connects us? Did anyone know that?
I mean, come on. By the way, I have never worked in that set, and it blows my mind.
Oh, the Demira set?
Demira set. Like, Billy was sitting over there talking with Freddie one day, and I was like, walked over and sat down, and I was like, oh my God, I've never been in this set.
You've never had a conversation with Portrait Stefano like everyone else has?
No, I haven't. I've never even had a conversation with Chad or Brandon Barash's either character. And I think there's one other person that I've never spoken to on this show.
Well, next time you speak to one of the Demiras, you demand that it happens in the Demira house, so that way you can check that off the list.
There's no way I'm speaking to a Demira unless it's in that house.
Well, that brings me to one of the questions that a fan had in the chat room. And I think this is one of the typical questions that everyone has. Kelly wanted to know, who would you like to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
Oh, I mean, I would love to work with Brandon or Billy. I'd be so excited about it just because I'm like, I need this to have been, I've worked with everybody on the cast. But yeah, I would love that just because I also really like them very much as actors. And then also if they wanted to put me in more scenes with Sal and Lamone, nobody would be mad about it.
Nobody would be mad. Paul, do you have anyone that you haven't worked with that you want to?
I was going to say, not to be boring, but yeah, it's pretty much the same. I mean, you know, Billy and I often joke about the fact that it's just getting a bit weird that we've never had a scene together at this point. It's like, what is the problem? And also just like the writer part of my head is always like, why don't we just do a proper like Kiriakis versus Demira, you know, war? We've got we've got a lot of cast in those two camps at the moment, spread across generations. And if we're ever going to try and, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, there was a lot of history to work off of too.
Yeah, there's tons there. And I've had no interaction with the Demaras outside of Kristen, which is great because that would be Xander's little way into all of that. And she's very conflicted with her own siblings. And I don't know, it would just be a nice way to stop with the inter-family conflict for a moment with the Kiriakis and Demaras and force them to be cohesive units together against each other for a change. So I would love to have scenes where Brady and I are on the same side for once, because I love working with Eric, and we've had a ton of great scenes over the years. You know what I mean? Like, we've had so much fun stuff over the years. But it ultimately always comes down to the fact that Xander just hates everybody that isn't Sarah or Maggie, and and disrespects everybody that isn't Victor. And it'd be nice to have him be forced into a situation where they have a mutual
No, that's
benefit.
not true. You also love Jack.
Yes.
That's brand new.
Bromance,
But that was fun. That's so cool. That was a thing that Matt taught me that I just didn't understand. Like, Matt made that happen. That was all Matt Ashford just improvising in a scene and just kind of insisting that, doesn't it make sense if I was a bit nice? Like, he had a line at the end of our first scene together where I'm trying to get him to do something, with the newspaper, I think it was. Yeah. And at the end of it, he was just going to be a dick to me. That was how it was scripted. And in Dry Block, which is very rarely used as a real rehearsal, it's really just to, like, you stand here, say the words, move, like, that's it, and we go. But Matt was like, no, let's have a little chat here for a second, because this guy did bring me back from the dead, and like, we joked about me, like, spooning, like, applesauce into his mouth or whatever I must have been doing, like, in the 4 or 5 months I was off the show before we came back. And it's like, wouldn't it make sense that there would be some, like, level of something between them? No, and I never complain and I never suggest. I just kind of take what I'm given and try and make it work. So I was just very quiet while I waited for Matt to get shot down. And instead, Albert or whoever it was like, "Oh, yeah, it's kind of a good idea. Let's see how that would look." And I was like, "Oh, this is like a real TV show all of a sudden." Okay. And so we did it, and they liked it, and whatever it was that Matt did, I think he just he just caught me as I was leaving, just went, "Hey, it's a good little chat," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And it's just a nice little seed, and then sure enough, the writers actually wrote to it, and now it's really nice because, again, like, I don't think any of this is intentional, but I know a lot of people hate it when the show doesn't respect history or does these things that contradict things that just happen. But for me, I love it when occasionally it does feel like it all makes sense. And Xander had a line with Eve back when I was trying to get Rolf's diary off of her, or I already had it, or whatever was going on at that point, where I'm talking about what a cushy deal Jack had, married to a Horton, couple of kids, so she can't dump him, all that. And he's like, "Ooh, wellity," which was nice because it meant when I was first, macking on Sarah, it could have just been cynical. And that's the way I did try to play it, that the audience could be like, well, is he sincere, or is he just trying to get his version of what Jack had and his version of what Victor had? And so to be on the other side of it now and to have, like, a sincere friendship building with Jack is actually kind of nice because they do have stuff in common.
Because I think everyone really did enjoy the scene on Thursday, I think, between you and Jack. And, like, after you were so excited about, getting your date with Sarah and, like, being giddy like a schoolgirl, as I described it earlier, it was nice to then, like, have someone to kind of turn to kind of, like, play off of, because if that didn't happen, like, truth be told, don't nobody like Xander except, Sarah. Like, and you just got off the phone with her. So it was nice to have that rapport, or have someone kind of cheer you on and go, "Yay, you did it."
And because, like, Jack's never really gotten the brunt of any of the bad things Xander has done, and I understand the part of the audience that is just like, this dude's disgusting and we shouldn't be watching him making love and we shouldn't be watching him be happy. I totally get it, and part of me agrees. I just, welcome to, making drama. Like, it's not all going to be just the way you want it, and there's going to be some stuff that, challenges your morals and your tastes. There's plenty of other people that do enjoy it, so let them have it. I
think it's so interesting that I think even though Xander schemed so much with the baby and everything like that. I think for the most part, we were still Team Xander. We were like, we get why he did everything that he did. And then we were looking.
He's such a doof. Like, he's such an idiot that like, that's like this. I always say this about people where I'm like, you can't hold people to the same expectations in which you hold yourself.
Yeah.
And that was Xander's best. Like, that was his best idea. That was his tops. And I think there's a part of Sarah that's like, I mean, fuck, that was such a stupid tops. Whose tops is that? I guess that is your tops, and I love you so much for being so stupid. And
it's like Sarah didn't want to. She was like, I'm so mad at you. But
oh my God, she can't help it. He is her Achilles heel. It is that thing where she's like, you fucked up so bad. And he's like, I know, but I'm sorry. And she's like, oh, fine. All right, you're fine. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, truth be told, I think we were all like that. We were like, listen, Xander could do probably the worst things and we'll still be like, it's okay, boo. Let's just go over here and like.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah loves him so much. It's so stupid. And he loves her so much. And it's such a different kind of love. Like his, like he said, is this like, oh, she's the best thing ever. And for her, she's just kind of like, she's like, this is mine. And no, it's not perfect, but I really like this. And I'm going to protect it. And don't you fucking say anything about it, because I'll hurt you.
Well, and Xander doesn't, I mean, not to, but he doesn't ask anything of Sarah. He doesn't want to change. He doesn't want her to change. He doesn't want to, he doesn't want to change anything. He just thinks she's an angel. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you got to, I mean, a lot of this hasn't been on the show, and it's my job and the writer's job, and honestly, the audience's job to kind of like fill in the gaps sometimes. And if you just got to try and imagine the romantic life that Xander may or may not have had prior to his arrival in Salem. And I'm going to say there haven't been a lot of like Sarah Horton quality women in it. You know what I mean? For the most part, I'm sure it's been, you know, dangerous, criminal, you know, immoral, nasty ladies. And so like, you know, by that spectrum that he's been dealing with, she is like just, you know, or just comparing Sarah to Kristen. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there was a little while there where we were playing like some sexual tension with Stacey and all that. That was all like one way, just Xander, you're just being like, whoa, this is a hot mama. But like, just such a different kind of woman to Sarah. Like, and in the choice between those two attractions, he was always gonna go with Sarah, even though Kristen is like a mirror image of him in so many ways.
But
he doesn't need any more of that. Yeah, he doesn't need more of that.
Yeah, but it's because they're opposites, and because she loves him for how, like, she's like, oh God, you are such a colossal fuck up, but you're my colossal fuck up, and I think that's what makes it so cute. Is like she's like, oh God, I love you for all these terrible things, but you're my terrible thing. So he, you know,
and
but I think that's what's so fun about them.
Like Sarah, she doesn't necessarily. Obviously, she wants him to change his behavior, but she doesn't necessarily want to change his inherent self. It's just the way he's been expressing that and acting out over the years has been so sociopathic.
She wants to change his choices, not even his behavior. It's his choices. Right.
And it's like, I like the idea of, and I hope this is the way things develop, because there is a little bit of that already, is that she basically becomes like his pet thug, and she can direct him towards using his thuggery for good things, and like checking him when he gets carried away with his thuggery in other aspects. And some of that is going to start coming through once Philip comes back, once Jay comes back.
One of the questions that I think a lot of people may have, Dwight in the chat room wanted to know, for you, Linsey, what do you think made Sarah get back with Xander? I mean, we know that there was an underlying love, but at what point do you feel like she just kind of said, you know what, I can't deny what I'm feeling. I got to go get my man.
You know, I think I've always said about that. When Sarah found out about the whole baby thing, the thing that crushed her the most was the we don't get to do this now. Like, you broke the thing, and I'm so mad at you because that's all we wanted, and now it's broken and it's your fault and we don't get to do it. And so I think it was always a mad that he broke it so bad, that this thing that we had so carefully crafted because they were friends for such a long time and they were raising a child together, but as friends, which was really beautiful. And even though she's kind of bossy and shitty with him,
she was
always, that's their dynamic. And that's their dynamic, and it's so sweet. But so I think for her, having the realization and having her mom have that conversation with her where she was like, just if you could just bury like if you could just get real deep, I mean, you gotta go. It's out of love and wanting to protect you. And it was the worst way to go about it, but it was that he did not want Sarah to ever feel anything other than joy and happiness in her life. Yeah. And the idea of her being sad crushed him. Mm-hmm. And the idea of Maggie being sad crushed him because Maggie's that mom that he needed. Yeah. And so I think when she has that realization, especially coming from her mom, who she, just idolizes so much and she loves, and I think that was that moment for her where she was like, oh my God. And then, seeing the headstone thing without wanting anything from her, him just wanting to do that for her so that she didn't have to deal with it. And then seeing how he took care of Allie. I think it was just so many things where it was like, that's the man I fell in love with. He makes some really bad choices, but that's the guy. Like, that's the one. Yeah. And so I think it is just that melting thing where you're like, it was the worst thing that another human could ever do, but he didn't mean it in a bad way. Yeah. So it is a very conflicting thing. Yeah. Because I think as fans, that's how we all felt. When we thought about all the things that were done, we were like, but he had such good intentions. It was stupid, but the intention behind it was so good. And I think that's why we rallied behind Xander and thought, just see him. As viewers, because of the time jump, you're kind of robbed of the history that's built in that time jump. Yeah. Whereas like Paul and I got the luxury of really kind of thinking about it and realizing like the beauty in, especially for me, like as a mom and as a single mom, like the idea that this man steps in, not his, and not only is like, we're going to do it, then it tends to her hand and feet. And then is like delivers her baby on the side of the road. If she calls and is panicked and he finds her, that's their, like, if Sarah is stressed, Xander's going to be in the room. It doesn't matter if he's across the country or in a different country, he's going to get there. Yeah. And so there's all this history that we kind of are robbed of because of this really fun time jump. But regardless, it was there. And so they have this deep, deep love for one another that's different because it wasn't even lust for such a long time. It was initially, but not for the majority of their relationship. Their relationship was friends. Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of lust, we'll go back to like all other questions and stuff, but I think we really want to discuss the scene on Friday, which Paul.
What happened on Friday?
the scene that made my mom go so we want to, I mean, we've all seen it by now, and we here at Dishin never seen it, never a part of it. I didn't, I wasn't even in it. So if anyone is familiar, both of those are Paul, both people.
I'm a chameleon.
Paul, that wig was amazing. Well, we always like to have fun here on Dishin Days, and so we thought instead of replaying the scene, we're just gonna like take screenshots and.
No, we're not reading.
Listen, let me
tell you and Tony play it out.
Listen, let me tell you, there would be some volunteers for that reenactment, Paul. Just I have to keep it tame. I already got a text from my mom that said, "Be good." So we're gonna show you guys some screenshots from the scene, and we're gonna ask you what were your thoughts in this particular moment.
This is better. Okay, I love
Yes.
this. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. So, so you may have to get really close to see the picture.
I love
but
it. I'm gonna get inappropriately close.
Yeah. So we'll start with this one. What were your thoughts at the beginning of the scene before we really got into it?
Who wants to go? I'll go first if you don't mind.
Go.
Just for me.
Yes.
The big thing that I was we talked about it a fair bit. This is a huge build-up, in terms of Sarah and Xander, but also Linsey and Paul. This had been, by this point, we'd had our little drunken canoodling, which at the time felt like a big deal. I'd never really been, I'd gotten to smooch Nicole for a millisecond before trying to strangle her, and got to smooch Risa for a millisecond before strangling her. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, this would be nice. I get to smooch somebody without strangling them. Growth. And whereas this was none of that. This had a huge amount of baked in feeling, emotion, and history. But more than that, it had stakes. It was if Xander messes this up, if he somehow doesn't do a good job of making this particular love in this moment, then how it would just be so awful. And there's also the thing is, do not do this, Xander. Do not make love to this person unless you are ready to spend the rest of your life. This is it. This is a real.
This is the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wanted it to be this just without being timid and without coming across as not wanting to be there. I just want it to be this constant hesitancy of them stepping through each doorway of intimacy, because it was rapidly so so this moment is a very James Bond moment of lifting up the bra straps and just kind of letting it drop. But James Bond would be kind of cool, whatever about it. Oh, I do this all the time. Whereas for Xander, it's just fraught with almost danger of not wanting to ruin anything, and just having to be this mix of a pretender but also masculine, lustful.
That's what they were thinking. All this and that one screenshot, Paul.
Yeah.
That is one shot, and all I was thinking in that moment was, "Hey, buddy, you're about to see me a lot more than I ever anticipated you ever seeing me, and I'm kind of sorry about that." That's all that face is. That face is, "Hey, bud."
You know what's funny is that I feel like there was there was a moment where the bra did come off and it cut to Paul, and you could kind of see him this is happening.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
There it is.
Clearly, he'd been hoping for this moment for a long time, and now it's that whole thing of when fantasy meets reality and anticipation meets expectation meets reality, and it's oh, here we are. This is really happening.
Yeah.
I always apologize after love scenes. I always say, "I'm sorry you all saw me naked. Let's not make eye contact the next day."
Well, but before we move on to other ones, but before you guys actually shot this, did you guys rehearse and talk about it? Were there
it's choreographed by the director. So we knew everything that was going to happen. And we took each shot was one individual shot. We didn't do the 3 cameras at the same time. Yeah. They were super respectful. Paul and I always kind of have a conversation before these scenes, which is hey, if you ever get uncomfortable, give me a squeeze or a whisper and we'll fix it.
Was there a safe word?
No, it's a squeeze because safe word is weird. Just a gentle squeeze or just whatever. And Paul and I are really protective of each other in that way. But yeah, it was really just done shot by shot. It's not that Paul and I were this is what we're gonna do. It was actually we were pulled aside by the director the day before, and it was explained to us individually. And then we got to set, we were at the end of the day, and everyone was it was, because we all knew it was going to be a little more risque. It was it really was done so mechanically in a good way because it was so safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a whole full like choreographed discussion and each shot. So it's like literally, it's like, okay, we're gonna do this, and you're just gonna do that, and then this, and that's it.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because, you know, it's gonna sound odd, but like Linsey and I had been like, when are we gonna get a love scene? Do you know what I mean? Because it felt like we were being set up to be, you know, a couple, and even though there was this friendship thing and all that, and it went on for a very long time, it always felt like the end goal would be getting these guys together. So we're like, when do we get, you know, because we get the pages not that far ahead of when we shoot, you know, so we're often reacting, you know, we've only just gotten over reacting to the new pages when we have to actually play them. And so we finally got the scene, and we're like, oh wow, here it is, we're having a love scene. And so we were very like, you know, just technical about it ourselves, and weren't even necessarily thinking about the nuts and bolts of actually shooting it. It was just like, oh good, here's the love scene, this is that progression in the character.
Yeah, and I
like,
don't think
now we've got to shoot it.
It wasn't written. It's just right. Like this one was just like love making montage, and you're like, oh, that's usually like kissing here, roll on one side, roll on the one side, and then it goes to a candle.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we were expecting.
But not Noel. Noel came and was like, can I talk to you? And I was like, sure, Noel. And then was like, oh, that sounds great.
It's also funny because I guess I didn't get it until like I say, like, until Noel interceded. But he was like, he kept saying, we want to do this 80s style. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't watch soap opera. He's like, well, we used to get a little bit more like, you know, cinematic with it back then. I was like, okay, great. And because in my head, you know, I've seen the little bits that we've done in the show and whatever. And I've done, not recently, but in earlier jobs, you know, throughout the years, I've done some relatively graphic stuff. And, you know, it's just not to be blasé, but it is kind of like you are forced to get over your embarrassment and your own prudishness and your body issues and everything quite quickly in this business.
Says the person who doesn't have to wear pasties.
Right. I mean, yeah, like, but it's just different for guys. It just is. It's just not the same level of, you know, scrutiny and everything
I'm going
else.
to demand that you wear them next time.
Yeah,
just so that we're equal.
If I have pasties, you've got pasties.
Yeah, exactly.
But I want yours to be like a little more involved.
but I have to say, like, so like Noel had said all that, and I was like, yeah, whatever, because I just thought, nah, it's still going to be like very daytime. And then sure enough, on the day, I was like, whoa, this is like, we are quite naked, and this is I'm doing what now? Because I remember on my first run on the show, when I was first on contract, and they were doing all the, I was just there to cause problems for Eric and Nicole and Daniel. And there was the scene where I was like rubbing Nicole's feet, and in rehearsal, because I'm European and whatever, I was like rubbing her feet and going, and the script said I go up her leg, so I was just like blah, 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 going up her leg in rehearsal. And you know, Ariane trusts me and I trust Ariane, so you know, there was nothing going on. And as soon as I got like near her knee, people go, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, what? This is okay. And so like in the thing, I barely get to like her calf, and I was like, okay, wow, good to know. And so that's why I was just like, really? When we were doing our big love scene, I was like, this is quite racy. All right.
We enjoyed every bit by bit of it. So let's continue, shall we? Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next photo. Here.
Oh my God.
Okay, so here you see Sarah going for Xander's belt, and we want to know what were you thinking during this moment?
Me?
I think I was nervous about opening it in the first place, but also like being, you know, But also, Paul's one of my best friends, so.
I mean, I was wearing 2 pairs of underpants.
Like, don't mess this up, but also don't mess this up.
Yeah, right. Well, I liked it. Just again, from like a character perspective. I'm sorry to like nerd it out, like not talk about the raunch, but just the character stuff of it.
No, of course.
I liked that. You know, she was leading the way. She was insisting. You know, she was moving it to the next level. That's really cool and rhymes with a lot of their relationship. And then I just thought the whole like pulling it down and using her feet to finish up taking off. I just love that because, you know, not to be.
Oh, you muted yourself. Paul,
Oh,
you muted yourself. Paul, you're muted.
Oh, there you are.
I just
We
fixed
heard
it
none
up.
of it.
Oh, it's my phone started to ring. Sorry, I've just cancelled it off. I was just saying like that maneuver is something that my wife does, and I think it's really cool. So yeah, it just felt like, oh yeah, that's relatable.
Well, it's funny because like again, like as I was watching it, I felt like, Paul, there were just some surprise moments for you, and that was another one because like she went for the belt, and then it was another like, okay, we're doing this. Another
This
moment.
is real.
And then when the foot came into play, it was kind of like, all right. Like I felt like I saw all this inner dialogue that you had with it. Like Linsey was like gung ho, like, yep, I'm doing this, and Paul was just kind of like, well, all right, let's.
Yeah, but I mean, I have to say that wasn't, you know, I'm not touting or tooting our horns, but like that phrasing. But they were choices. You know, like, that wasn't all spontaneous. We'd been thinking about all that stuff, and like it had to be that way in a way. Like it couldn't just be like Xander just takes her. Do you know what I mean? Like it had to be this mutual, just slowly escalating into like full passion, which, you know, really kind of plays out in the scene. You know, that does. You know, to be fair, I wasn't expecting it to have its own song and everything. I thought we would just be cutting in and out, and, you know, like we'd have a smooch and it would cut to like, you know, Gabby arguing with Jake or whatever, and then back to us and we're still smooching. But no, it was just, I mean, I think that's part of why it got under people's collars a little bit. It's this long sustained sequence, and there's nowhere to hide. You either have to watch it or change the channel.
Yeah. Well, I feel like in true daytime fashion, like each couple has like their song and their moment. And I think Friday, Sarah and Xander were just established with their song and their moment.
That's nice. I just thought it was funny that this scene was the same day as the new Cardi and Megan song, you know, WAP.
Yeah.
So like, I'm waiting to see an edit, like some fan edit of that love scene, but to that song. I think that would be really good.
Well, Asking You Shout, our fans are very good at that. You ask a request like that and check your Twitter in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think that could work.
It will happen. All right, so let's go to we still got 3 more photos, so this is fun. Let's go to the next photo, which is of Sarah.
Oh God, I really hate that photo.
I massively disagree. In fact, I think I sent a similar thing to you this through on a Twitter DM, just saying it's just exceptional lip acting here, Linsey. Like,
See, and I disagree because I bailed on the lip, because I don't like licking my lips at someone because it's very unnatural. Nobody has ever gone.
Yeah, but the tongue bite is I think that's you're basically just, I feel that's instructions.
But you can tell that I'm bailing. I go. I hated that, but if everybody else liked it, that's great.
What were you thinking? Was there a thought of like, should I do this or maybe not? Or
it was asked of me to do. That's why I didn't love it. And also, very naked in that shot, I will say. I mean, it's not like it's mostly chest plate here, but you know.
Yeah. No, when one of my favorite moments, only because I love a good head whip, was when you were on the bed like this and you went, and I was like, yes, that's it. That is it.
I felt good about that. Also, I had to get that's like 7 pounds of fake hair.
Well, listen, you got the best momentum of it. It was like a Pantene Pro V commercial.
Oh my God, yeah.
During daytime, during a lovemaking scene.
Yeah, they did me right. They did me right on that one with my hair that day.
They did. All right, let's go to the next photo of what were you thinking during this moment?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was just
I know what I was
astonished
thinking.
that we were doing it. Yeah, I just didn't think that that was the kind of thing we could get away with. That's clearly, you know, she's clearly riding me. There's, you know, it's not just, they're not just cuddling. They're not just.
And also, but then,
asking the
then your
applicant.
head goes here. And that one I made as awkward as possible. To quote one of my friends like 2 days ago, why do you always have to ruin everything? And I did try to make that as I literally sat on and I go, hi, buddy. And then I pull his head in because Paul's trying to be polite. And I was like, let's just get this over with.
Although, to be fair, like what I kept thinking about is that, I mean, I'm just such a nerd. Like even the lighting, it reminded me of, there's an amazing love scene in Terminator, you know, the original Terminator movie. And it ends with their like hands entwined and like, you know, just pulsing together as they squeeze each other's hands. Yeah. And we have a little bit of that in the scene. And I remember saying it to Noel, I was like, is this a reference to Terminator? And he just looked at me like, what are you talking about? No, it's just how we do these things. But what I liked about it is that, again, it just felt, as much as it's like raunchy and all of that, and I understand, you know, why some people might be upset with it or whatever. But to me, there was, it wasn't like we were ignoring the sensitive, emotive part of the love mate. And to, you know, in this point, like, it's not just, they're like, we must have sex with each other. It's like, it's a consummation. It really felt like, you know, she's bringing him in almost, not motherly, but like it's just has this like loving intimacy to it that isn't just, you know, lust. It is that perfect, what you hope for, which is when the lust and the love become one at the same time, kind of thing. So I thought, you know, as shocking as it kind of was, but oh wow, they really did just go for it. It didn't feel smutty to me.
Well, no, I feel like it fit the character.
Hey, lady.
And their relationship.
Hi. Look at this, Mr. Paul. You see? Hi, Mr. Paul.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Poodle.
I did have a random thought in the middle of watching this. Was when Sarah's shoes were being taken off, and I thought, in true Tony form, cute shoes.
Thank you. They're my idea.
But I was like, and then there was a moment where I analyzed it. I was like, I like that it's not like a typical like pump, because you always think of like,
and also because I also picked the lingerie. I specifically wanted high-waisted and kind of like a bralette. So it was a whole look, Tony. So
you know what?
For noticing.
Listen, I appreciated the look, because also what that signified was, like, I know this date is going to end like I want it to end, but I want to be, I already want to be slipped into something more comfortable.
Yeah.
But yet fashion. And then,
but also that's why she chose a slinky, silky dress, was to be
yes.
like,
so that way it's like, here's the date dress, here's the after date dress. Oh, don't forget my nice like thigh high boots that I have on.
I was so happy because no one knew I was going to wear them, and I came to set, and our director goes, "Oh, great boots!"
But
kudos,
kudos to Paul for still taking them off in a very sensual way that it didn't appear awkward.
We had to work on that because I couldn't be wearing socks, so we had to take them off and then do the boots back up. But also kudos to Paul because those are not easy to get off.
No, boots are never easy to get off.
No.
But I literally in the middle of, because, you know, there's so much anticipation. Everyone's like, Friday, the scene, da-da-da-da. And in the middle of all this, I go, cute shoes. That's a really great choice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Those were good boots.
Kudos. Okay, we have one more picture, and then we'll give our final thoughts about it. And this is you, Paul, just kind of longingly looking at her. I feel like this is like before. What were you thinking? What was Xander thinking here?
Yeah,
this is before you. Isn't that before you?
You've just done your hair, your beautiful hair toss with your 7 pounds of weave.
Thank you so much.
And it's like, but to me, this is exactly what I was talking about. It's that moment of like, all right, here it is, buddy. Like, you know what this means. Like, if we're gonna do this, this is life or death. This is the rest of your life type stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just got a seriousness to it that I wanted to try and get. You know, we get one take and everything. You know, it's not like there's a lot of time to really like try different things out or whatever. But all I really wanted to get across was like just a level of maturity and seriousness about the stakes of the moment, and not just be worried about sucking my tummy in. You know what I mean?
Paul, I'm pretty sure you do not have to suck your tummy in.
This is what people don't understand, is everybody has body issues. And I was very insecure shooting a lot of this because I did not feel that I was in the kind of shape that I prefer to be in for this kind of stuff. And it's why I beat myself up when it airs. I'm like, oh, I was in pretty good shape. I wish I felt better on the day when we shot it, so I wouldn't be even having those thoughts, and I could just inhabit the moment and all that. But well, like, you know,
if you didn't know, like, you along with everyone else who showed their body this week, and you, Linsey, got Tony's official 3 Snaps award for how great your bodies looked.
Oh my Christ! I was not in good shape. I was not in good shape. Hence the high waisted.
You're beautiful. Shut up.
You both, you both looked amazing during it, and I will say this, even like I know that a lot of like this was shocking to see because it was, I like to describe it as erotically beautiful, because at the end of it, the way that you two looked at each other, it was in this way of like, we are now truly connected, and everything that we felt for each other, everything that we've longed for each other, we just expressed that in this moment. So I hope that that comes across to fans as we were sitting there, like probably like mouth open, fans ablazing, you know, all that kind of stuff during this whole thing, that we realized that this was truly a beautiful moment between these two characters that we truly believe should be together. And that this was their moment to really connect and to reconnect with each other after everything that has transpired, but to really connect with each other. I thought the scene was great.
Thank you.
Mate. It's so lovely to hear that. It felt like a consummation and like a reset.
Yeah.
You know, in a way.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a coming together moment. And I think we both really wanted that at the end, where it is that like, it's, I missed you.
Yeah.
I missed you. And because they've had, you know, we've had love scenes before. They've never been obviously this involved. And usually they're just not at all. For Sarah and Xander, they're usually like, you know, a little bit and then we're done. And so to have this very involved love scene, which was very risque, but then coming together at the end, it is this very sweet thing where you're like, yes, they just did something and it was a thing. But at the core of it, it's like they really love each other, and they love each other in such a different way than any of the other characters love each other, because we love each other for who exactly the other person is, which I think is really great. Like, even though he does put Sarah on a pedestal, all the things that he loves about Sarah, she is, but he puts her on a pedestal, but he also loves that she's bossy, and he also loves that she hits him constantly. Yeah. And, you know, he loves those things about Sarah, and she loves, even though, you know, it's hurt her before, she loves that he's this thing that means well, but does such stupid things. And I think that's what's so sweet about it, is that they come together and they're not these perfect people. They're really imperfect, but they love each other because of their imperfections. And so I thought in that moment, it was very sweet to end it like that.
Yeah, it was definitely like we're feeling things after seeing it. But it was with love. But it was with a lot of love, and we felt all of that love during that. That
makes me the happiest.
How have you all felt? First of all, seeing it, you know, I'm sure it's different filming it and then actually seeing it play out. What were your initial reactions as you watched the scene?
Paul sent it to me because I didn't see it. And so he's like, have you seen this? And it was just a gif of me looking back and him coming into frame. And I just wrote back, Jesus! I honestly, I gotta tell you, we filmed that in November.
Oh, long ago. Yeah.
And so I blacked out when we were filming it. I don't remember anything about it. But B, it was such a long time ago that I remember writing back, we did that? When?
Well, it was like, even in the preview last week, we were like,
There was a
Well,
lot-
because in the preview last week, it's that overhead shot
Yeah.
of me falling on the bed.
Yeah. And watching it, I also thought, I was like, Linsey really has her like there's nothing there's no soap opera nude bra there
was no option for it. I couldn't even
Yeah.
do sticky bra
yeah
because they wanted the side, which was fine. By the way,
Yeah.
I've never done I always just do that because I don't like sticky bras, but
yeah
it was, and but usually it's that, and it's a sheet, and it's just
Yeah.
my back. It's like a sheet in between me and Paul, or they've wrapped me in a sheet and Paul's wrapped in a sheet, and then they put another sheet on top of us. But this one was different, and it was also I've done love scenes, the love scene when Eric and Sarah come together. That was pretty sexy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Was pretty more involved than I'd done before, and that was just because I had to be here, and I don't think I had pasties on for that. Actually, no, I had a bra on, but the idea that I then had to do skin to skin with somebody while in pasties, but not just skin to skin, face to chest. So yeah, but there's no other way around that one. So when I'm falling on there and I'm thinking about that, and especially when I had to roll over, I was like, oh, they have everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul, what was your reaction after seeing it?
Yeah, I mean, outside of just going just closing my mouth, I was just very surprised at the level of kind of seriousness, for want of a better word, that it had. Obviously, nothing that we do on the show is particularly serious. It always has this quality of heightened, reality or whatever. But it did just have this kind of weight to it that I was hoping it would have. And so, yeah, it's a very strange thing to watch, obviously. You're not
On
used
the
to seeing
internet.
yourself.
It's weird to see you everywhere.
Yeah.
I did immediately send it to my best friend, Kimberly.
I feel like that text message was like, girl, look at this.
I was like, good night. And all she wrote back is, oh my God, you're so hot. And I was like, thank you so much.
Agreed. I agree with that.
That's all I needed was for Kimberly to tell me it. And that's it. That's the only validation I ever need.
Well, my reaction in the build up to it, and just generally, typically, is to try and take the mickey out of it, try and be sarcastic or funny, and not try and, be
we can't be serious.
But then it was hard to do that in the aftermath because it had its, outside of the shock factor or whatever, the raunch, it did have its sweetness and its seriousness about it. So I didn't necessarily want to start taking the mickey out of it. So I was like, all right, well, if you're going to do this thing, you might as well.
Weird choice of name, by the way.
Right, yeah. Well, it's the Britishness. Yeah.
I
want to say
know,
this,
but let's
but yeah, so my main reaction was just kind of wow, that we actually did. They did that, and it went on television. Cool.
Yeah. No, I'm
daytime television too.
Yeah. I'm just very happy at where these characters are. I feel like I truly root for them, and I love the softer side of Sears with Xander. I just love this this soft, sweet, you just want to hug him all the time. You're like, oh, you poor thing. Come here. Let me just give you a hug.
Yeah.
So it's nice just to see this, and even those moments of a few weeks ago when Sarah wanted to move back into the mansion, and he was like, well, I'll move out. It's like, you can't just go in another part of the wing that no one knows about. You gotta completely move out.
About Xander is it's always about Sarah. It's always it's what it is. It's as you like, or as you wish. As you wish.
Yeah, as you wish.
And that's what it's as you wish, and that's what's so sweet. And he means it. It's whatever Sarah wants, and she's like, I need this, and he's like, okay, I'll get it.
Yeah.
I might murder somebody to get it, but I'll.
And now we didn't clarify you couldn't, so.
Yeah.
That's not completely off the table.
We didn't say that you couldn't do that.
So before we like hold you guys captive, because like we'll just keep talking because
I do have to go.
Yeah, we no longer have a time limit because it's just us now. But if you guys can give any like insight as to what we can look forward to with Xander and Sarah now that we've seen.
We don't know
because that was our last day of filming.
Oh, like, really?
That was our literal last day. So I don't.
That's not quite how I remember it, Linsey.
That was my last day.
Before Christmas, and then we came back and did do a little bit more.
No,
after
before
Christmas.
The big hiatus, not now. It was when we filmed it back in November. That was our last day, and then
and we thought we were done, and the show was getting canceled.
But that was our last day of filming.
Wow. We thought we're like, well, at least we got to finish the story, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It feels like as much of an ending. But...
And then we came back, but we were only back for a month before the quarantine. So I actually, I don't remember. I do know that Sarah goes from really long hair to very short hair overnight.
I mean, we've seen that before. We've seen that before.
I mean, but also like I look completely different. Like completely different. Like I quit drinking this year, and so I go from like Sarah size to like really like I lost a lot of weight and my hair's a lot shorter, and so it's like she goes to sleep and comes out and is like, that night was amazing. Look at me, I'm different.
Well, I guess we will have to stay tuned to see.
Oh my God.
Like what happens.
I can tell you what we hope is going to happen, but like, like in terms of what was being set up, it did feel like, you know, as far as Sarah and Xander were at that point, we seemed solid, right? It just seemed like we are good, and there were other antagonisms going on. We were basically being pulled into other people's storylines. Yeah,
and I think what I think we could both like safely hypothesize would be that we will be pretty cemented when we get back to things, and that they'll pretty be solid. That would be my guess. Again, I have no idea because of the stories that we were filming when the quarantine happened. Like we weren't heavy in those stories because they were, as we have a lot of exits, and so they were wrapping up a lot of that stuff, and we kind of be intermingled with other people's. But I think they're like, I'm pretty sure the direction is to leave Sarah and Xander be, and like let them be this really connected, strong force for a little bit. I think that's my hope, and I think that's what I would guess.
I hope so, because listen, it took y'all a minute to get here. Like,
didn't it?
You know,
sometimes just be happy for a minute.
Just for a minute, and then the shenanigans can ensue. But just for a moment, can we just be at peace with where Xander and Sarah are right now?
Yeah.
Before all the Salem stuff starts coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it inevitably will.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you for letting me volunteer us coming on your show.
Listen,
thanks for having us.
You can do that anytime. And
Tony, I always love hanging out with you guys. So I'm always like, anytime they're like, who should we have on the show? I'm like, me.
we always try to figure out like when's the best time so that like, you know, it makes sense. So that way you don't come on and you're like,
it makes sense for me to come and chat.
Well,
now you guys have always been so supportive of me, and of Xander generally, which, you know, wasn't always the case. It wasn't always the obvious, you know, reaction early on. So I'm so grateful to you guys and everything you do to help promote the show.
We're so grateful for both of you, and it's especially you, like Paul. We started like looking back at all of our episodes the past 5 years, and I literally had a moment where I was like, Paul has literally been with us since like almost the start of the show.
I love that.
How does he come on and deal with us and all of our shenanigans?
Love it.
So we appreciate you all for supporting us, and any support that we can give, we definitely will. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you, and stay safe and be well.
You too.
And I know that whenever I need someone, Linsey, I'm calling.
Oh my God, yes, I'm here.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Thanks again. And thanks for watching, everybody who's watching. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
I'm leaving.
Yay. You can stay as long as you want.
Bye.
All right, y'all, that was our fun time with Paul and Linsey. We thank them so much for coming on. And it feels good not to feel rushed because here we are well over 2 hours later and didn't have to rush them off. So yay. But now we have to go. So Michael Mattis, tell the folks where they can find you on the social medias.
Oh, do we want to show the promo? Oh wait, we watched it, didn't we?
We already did.
We did.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at MLMattis.
And Mark J. Freeman for joining us today and allowing me to get through an announcement for Maria.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @TheMarkJFreeman.
Well, and Mark, everyone enjoyed having you back. So I hope this isn't the last time you come back and kiki with a. Well, I actually know what day you're definitely coming back on.
What day am I coming back on? Oh, wait, I said something about when I was coming back on, didn't I?
Yeah, you were very adamant. Like the day that happens.
Oh, yeah.
I will for sure be on. So
well,
we'll
if I'm not drunk in excitement.
You probably will be. And of course, you guys, you can find us on all social media platforms. We are Dishin Days on Facebook and Instagram, _Dishin Days on Twitter. And of course, you're right here on our YouTube channel already. So make sure you subscribe and like this video. And of course, you can find me on all social media platforms at Lounging with Tony. Thank you guys so much for tuning into our show. We truly appreciate your support. And we'll see you next Sunday for another full dish of this week's episodes of Days of Our Lives. Bye, everybody. I actually have to, this may be an awkward moment because I have to find the button that ends the stream. So hold on, let me find this episode is gonna end awkwardly because Tony doesn't know where that screen is because he has multiple screens up. Hold on, where is that screen? I feel like maybe I should have done this while we were still talking. Oh, there it is. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.